Hello, BookTube. All right, I'm back for another round of Q&A. Here we're going to start with Eleni Nicolina, who asks, let's see here. I have an opportunity to get Will Durant's Story of Civilization very cheap. I love encyclopedic works, but I won't search for a place on my shelf for 18 volumes if you say it's no good. It's wonderful. The Will Durant books are wonderful. Back before the Brattle, the used bookstore here in Boston, shut down, I let them know that I am mournful now that I ever got rid of my copies of those books. It's worth having a whole shelf for Will Durant. And I let them know, the next time you see a set like that, let me know because I want it. And then they closed. Let's see here. But I don't blame you at all for asking. It is huge. It's a whole shelf of its own in limited book space, but it is worth it. Very much worth it. Never been anything quite like it. Let's see here. Faye 00T says, number one, who are some of your favorite essayists? Virginia Woolf would be one. John Dryden. Samuel Johnson, if you want to call some of his stuff essays. And later people as well. Let's see here. Question. I think making lists like this off the top of my head is always tough. What are your thoughts on the work of Guy Davenport? I love his nonfiction. I don't think I've read much of his fiction. I love his nonfiction. Let's see here. Mayberry Book Club asks, I'm looking to buy a word processor without too many distractions. Of all of your devices, do you have a preference? Or could you make some recommendations or general thoughts? I can do almost everything with my phone, but I need something better for just typing. Oh, you certainly do. If you're going to type prose, you can't do your phone. Unless you're doing a Wattpad story. Wattpad stories you can do on your phone. Just type a chapter while you're waiting in line somewhere. But yeah, for typing, definitely. And I don't have a device that I recommend to cut down on distractions. Of course, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to give you a Jesuitical answer. I'm going to say that instead of buying a device that helps you to cut down on distractions, you should control yourself. You should control yourself. You should control yourself. Don't let the machine control you. Control yourself. And simply say, I will check everything in the outside world electronically, all these distractions at the top of every hour. You could start with that. That's a baby step. I will check all these things at the top of every hour and not at any time otherwise. And you might have all the little things on your bar, your bookmark bar up at the top of your screen, but so what? You control your own actions. So just start with baby steps. Say, I'm going to check these things on the hour, every hour. Now, that's not necessary. The world's not going to change. Nobody needs that much contact from you. Unless you're Voxering with me. I noticed that quite a few people who are asking questions here don't Voxer with me, and I'd like to Voxer with all of you. But one way or another, my suggestion for a device for typing would be minimal. Go for minimal. Don't overbuy. I made that mistake for years. Get a Chromebook. Get a $200 Chromebook. They're built like workhorses, the really good ones. They're built like workhorses. They're light as a feather. They update themselves. And they don't have all the extra junk, all the graphics cards for playing video games and the tons and tons of processing power. If all you're going to be doing is writing prose, get a Chromebook. Get a $200 Chromebook. They have all of those benefits. In addition to which, you're using Google Chrome, so you don't have to worry about finding those documents. They will be on Google Chrome. So if you go to another device, you can get them there. You don't have to think, I don't have the right computer with me. And on top of that, there's a tremendous amount of psychological freedom. If you're anything like me, I manhandle my products, and I have a dog here, and I'm not all that careful. And it's a tremendous psychological blessing for me to know that even if the worst were to happen to a Chromebook, I'm not out $1,000. I'm out $150. I could get one the next day and not worry about it at all. So that's what I would recommend. Number one, if you're looking for just a device to type on with no other higher needs at all, not filming, not editing, not anything like that, just get a Chromebook. Just get a $150 Chromebook. And when it comes to dealing with distractions, don't put the blame on the machine, whether it's a Chromebook or a MacBook or anything like that. Put the blame where it belongs, on yourself. Don't yield to distraction. That is the key to not getting distracted. Take a baby step first. I'm only going to do these distracting things, these online things, at the top of every hour. That will be my reward for an hour of writing. And then once you start to do that, and keep in mind, that's only going to take a week, 10 days to do that, and then it will be a new habit, and you won't even think about it. That is still a baby step. Then from there, you can say, I will deal with the distractions, the fun stuff, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube videos, all that sort of stuff. I'll deal with all that fun stuff at the end of a day of work. Or let's say first at the top of every hour, let's say the next step is I will deal with that at lunch. So from 8 until noon, I will ignore it and I will work. Then at noon, over lunch, I will do that. I will check in on everybody. I will answer emails. I will look at Instagram. I'll look at Twitter. I'll look at Facebook. And then from 1 to 5, no. I'll check again at 5. And so on and so forth. And then the next step after that is I will go from 8 in the morning until the end of my workday. And at the end of my workday, I will check, but at no point in between. And that is tremendously satisfying. It allows you to get a huge amount of work done. And it's totally under your control. It doesn't need to be a machine that is low on distraction. I'm sorry. We can't, like I said, I can't rant. If I rant in every video, in every question, we'll never get done. Let's just move on. Let's see here. Oh, here are some duplications. All right, this gives us a chance to jump ahead here. Okay, so now we'll do Marcus. If I miss your question, just wait until 7.2K, because we're coming right up on it. God help me. And we'll just ask Q&As then. Marcus asks, if Superman were ever to encounter the Avengers, and either Superman turned bad or the Avengers, which Avenger would have the best chance of taking him down, taking into consideration they don't know about kryptonite? To make it easy, maybe just limit to the classic lineup, or you can use any member of the Avengers. Well, this has already been done. Right? George Perez drew a 4-part miniseries where the JLA first fights and then teams up with the Avengers. And the marquee fights happened. Batman fought Captain America, and Thor fought Superman and lost. Superman beat him. And they became friends afterward in the same miniseries, and Thor later on says, well, now that I know your measure, now that I've taken your measure, maybe I would win next time. But that was the wrong conclusion. Very much the wrong conclusion. I don't know what to say about that. Otherwise, I'm a big fan. I forget who wrote it. Kurt Busiek, I think, wrote it, and I like his writing. But nevertheless, Thor is as strong as Superman, and he is a mystical being. And Superman is vulnerable to magic. Thor should be able to beat Superman on his own. But even if not, you still have plenty of other Avengers. Superman on his own should not be able to take the Avengers. Not in most classical iterations of the team, except for the low-powered iterations of the team. But even then, you have the Scarlet Witch, who throws a wrench in things and may be able to depower him. But Thor alone should be able to. He is Superman, but he is mythical. He's Superman plus magic. And that should be enough. I'm not as much a fan of Superman as I am. Jack Tarr. We already did him. Stand-up comedians. Okay, then we go to Hannah's Books. Tell us a story of how and when you entered the world of book reviewing. Oh my. This is a sweet old man who was a book section editor at a newspaper where I worked in a small town in Iowa. And I was an editorial writer, and he noticed that I loved books, loved to talk about them. Talked to him about them quite a bit. And at one point he just said, why don't you write me a review? And I thought, well, how hard can this be? I, in fact, asked that to the group of muscular teenagers that I was living with at the time. I said, how hard can it be? So I did it, and it took off. I remember asking him, dear sweet old man, I remember when he had a chance to read it, I went up to him a little bit with my heart in my throat and said, well, did you have a chance to read it? Is it any good? Do you need me to fix things? And he said, oh, heavens, no, I don't need you to fix a thing. It's fine. What was the first book review you published? I don't remember. I know I should. I had no idea when I did it that it would be my life, my profession. I had no idea of that. And for a long time, it wasn't. I mean, it was for a long time in my life, and then for a long time, it wasn't. For a quarter of a century, I didn't write any book reviews. And then now I'm coming up on, 15 years, something like that, where I'm back in it. But I didn't know that it was my life, so I didn't think about it at all. I honestly don't remember what that first published book review was. Did it come naturally from the start, or did it take you a bit of time to practice writing? Well, I believe I got better. I believe I've gotten better as a book reviewer over time. But I guess that some aspect of it must have come naturally at the start, because, like I said, that original editor, that wonderful art section editor, didn't have any problem with the first review that I wrote. And that actually was the same thing that happened after that quarter of a century gap. When I came back into reviewing, when I came back into the world of reviewing, my friend Sam was writing book reviews for the Columbia Journal of American Studies for a friend of his who was the editor of that at the time. And Sam said, why don't you write a book review for this guy? He's really nice. Why don't you write a book review for him? And I did, and my heart was in my throat. I thought, well, okay, what if this isn't any good? I think I sent it to Sam first and asked him, is this any good? And he said, yeah, there's no problem with the worth of the prose here. There's no problem with that at all. And then I sent it to the editor, Tony Ducapil, who is now a broadcast guy on broadcast TV, and a heck of a guy, and the writer of a fantastic nonfiction book. But at the time, he was just a lowly editor, and he also had very little in the way of substantial criticism. His main criticism was that I wrote it for prose. I wrote it for a newspaper, big long block paragraphs instead of shorter, more telegraphic paragraphs that are more typical online. So I guess it was kind of natural, at least a bit at first. Then Alan asks, what are your thoughts on Balzac? Where should I start reading him? Most people start because they're assigned Père Goriot in school, Old Goriot. Why not read that? Why not start there? I mean, he wrote a whole bunch of really great books, but that's a fantastic one, and it's handleable, and it has 1 million editions, so why not start there? Let's see here. Oh, Andrew Russell's question we already asked. I've got some duplication going on here then. Perry Chang asks, thoughts on Tanizaki? Great. Tasso? Not so great, but still great. Tauntaun? He's a little annoying. I would much rather read about his dog. JC says, how many of the books that you read do you find that you've totally forgotten? None. I'm not a particularly fast reader, so I wonder if I were to triple my reading speed and catch up with you, if I would forget more books than I do already. I don't know if you would or not, but I don't tend to forget a whole lot of what I read. Let's see here. Chapter 2.1 says, what do you think of George R.R. Martin? Do you think he will ever actually finish and publish his series, A Song of Ice and Fire? No, he will never finish it, but I think he's a talented author. Less talented in this series, actually, than in anything else he's ever written, except maybe his wild cards nonsense. But his more structured, more edited, key there, more edited fantasy and science fiction is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And A Song of Ice and Fire, the books that he actually wrote, have wonderful bits in them. Even the weak ones do. But no, he's never going to finish it. Just banish that hope. It's never going to happen. Let's see here. Shelfware asks, are Will and Durant's Story of Civilization books worthwhile? Wow, the second time here. Yes, they are. A massive investment of time and money and space on your shelf, but very much worth it, yes. Let's see here. More duplications. All right. That's good. That'll speed things up here. We're at 12 minutes. Let's see here. PHSXSNS asks, sure you hate Stephen King's books, but given your feeling on movie adaptations, what do you think of those of Carrie, The Shining, The Shawshank Redemption? And you could go on with Stephen King. A lot of his movie adaptations are very, very good. Of course, movie adaptations of most books are better than the books they adapt. In Stephen King's case, that is dramatically true. Dramatically true. Now, my hatred of him as an author does not extend to the adaptations of his books. Not at all. Let's see here. PRCZEK asks, is there a dog breed you wish you got to know better? Dingoes. Dingoes. There's a whole kind of dog that I will never meet. I will never face smooch with a dingo. Breaks my hat. Then also, any tips for future teachers? Can anyone become a good teacher? What are the perks of being a teacher? I don't know if anyone can become a good teacher. The perks are that you get to know your students, and that is wonderful. Can you read in any other writing system than Latin, and I suppose Greek and Cyrillic? Not really, no. Unless you mean older forms of English. I can read a bit of Old English. Maybe that would count. Jen Uncensored asks, which novels by Agatha Christie do you like and recommend? And do you like Harlan Coben? And if so, which ones from Coben do you recommend? I don't know. I have a recommendation for Harlan Coben. I do kind of like him, but it's in one ear and out the other. I don't think any of the books are noticeably better or worse than any of the others. And Agatha Christie, well, I like Murders Announced. I like A Murder at the Vicarage. I like Nemesis. Was it the Caribbean Mystery? Lord Edgware Dies is another one. It's a little weak, but I like it. But I don't know that I'd single them out. I don't think I could point to anything that would make them better. It's probably just that I personally like them better. Let's see here. Okay, book prizes. We already did that. All right. Let's see here. Thrift Bookish. Again, if I miss your question, because a lot of these are duplicated, so I'm zipping through. If I miss your question, we're coming up on 7.2K, and we'll do a Q&A for that as well. So just hold on to it. Thrift Bookish asks 2 questions. Number 1, do you believe in karma? No, I don't believe in karma. There is no supernatural element to existence. There is no supernatural element. No supervisory, no recompensatory, no justiciary, no, there's no supernatural element to existence. And number 2, what are your thoughts on Agatha Christie's books? Like I mentioned, I like them just fine. They're much of a muchness, but as we used to say. So I like them just fine. Certainly they're fun to read. Let's see here. Michael Jefferson asked, do you like Queen's music? Of course I do. Of course I do. I love Queen's music, as any right-thinking person does. And of course, We Will Rock You and other familiar anthems like that are at the top of anybody's list, but I also have a soft spot for Fat Bottom Girls, which won't get airplay. If there were such a thing as airplay, who's going to play a song like that? You'd have 21st century moral censors burning your station to the ground. So I will give a little wistful call to that song, which is wonderful. Let's see here. C.M. Spiff asks, as a fan of Patrick Rothfuss's Kingkiller Chronicles, here we go again, am I doomed to the same fate as those hoping for a new Game of Thrones book? I read the first 2 books back around the time Doors of Stone was originally slated to come out, 3 or 4 years ago at this point, but it's been almost radio silence ever since. I don't think George R.R. Martin will not finish A Song of Ice and Fire, but Patrick Rothfuss I don't think is the same. I don't think that's the same. So I think you will see another book from him. And then the last question, oh my God, all right, so this is neat. Then we're out of, okay, I thought I had deleted this. Sorry to end on this note. Trump 2020 asks, why do you believe the COVID lie when it's been proven, all caps, to be nothing more than a Chinese cold? Sorry to end the Q&A on this asinine note. I thought I had deleted this comment. This is a bot, not a person, so it feels a little bit ridiculous to answer it anyway, but if it were a person asking this question, then I would say under normal circumstances I would just call you an idiot. There are medical experts everywhere in the entire world: Iran, Iraq, China, Puerto Rico, France, Germany, Scandinavia. There are medical experts all over the world who can tell you, who have told you beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is not a cold. This is a deadly strain of a SARS virus. Ordinarily, under normal circumstances, I would call you an idiot, but in these particular circumstances, with 100,000 people dead in America alone, I would call you a monster as well as an idiot. But I don't believe there's a person here. I think this is just a bot. If this is a person, and if this person happens to be watching, I would urge you to take it seriously for yourself, for your loved ones, for the old and young people in your life, for strangers and their old and young people in their life. I don't think you are. This question gives me pretty much all I need to know about you. But if there's any chance that a call for reason will get to you, then I'll offer one, because you can be shedding the virus without knowing that you're sick, and it can be deadly. As if you had a heart, if you had a brain, you would know that. Countries all over the world have reported gigantic mortality spikes. Those people are dead. That's who you're talking about. You're talking about dead people here, to recite some weird internet. Anyway, I'm sorry that we had to end on that note, but nevertheless, this was tremendous fun, as always, except for that last idiotic question. This was tremendous fun. And I want to thank you all for all these questions. This is always enjoyable for me. I don't know how you come up with all these questions, but you do. So we will do this again. I'm told by those who know better than I do that the bigger your channel gets, the faster it will grow. That there's some sort of math involved in that. I don't know that that's true. I see how it could be, but for a channel that, as has been commented, has no technical value at all. I don't edit. There are no special effects. There are no pictures, no cards, no nothing. But if this channel gets to 7.2 thousand, then we will do another Q&A then, and I will leave a video. But until then, this was a ton of fun. Thank you for all the questions. It was a great deal of thought-provoking stuff. I'm going to go back and make a note of all the things that were suggested. But in the meantime, good Lord, I'm going to wrap this up. This is enough videos for me from one day. So I will wrap this up, but I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.